continued the section on calm abiding and special insight, explaining how all objects of knowledge need to be looked at in terms of their ultimate reality as well as their conventional reality, and one can single-pointedly focus on any among those topics. Good? Yep. Okay. Khensur Rinpoche.
Oh yeah. Changa to Lamrim. Da Lamrim is na tabi lang. Dendru lang, tabi lang. Sanji go mo to lang. Kasung. Chebu chungu lang. Chondu lang. And then mo ge ju mo suri to dendru lang. Tela den dendru la da me ten to yo dendru lang. Then haba sunde then pabi lang. Tela den palang. Kaza pabi lang je then Shaju senda Shinju la so to so sanji go pon to lang.
Yes.
Or the name of lang.
Yes.
Or the sentient samal yo res.
Yes.
Jusen garas na sentient samal sanji ge rigi chod yo res. Ona sanji ge rigi yo na and samal yiji sheba doa.
Yes.
Yiji sheba jenju je res re.
Yes.
Yiji sheba de ma du ba na ji ne re. Or the ni la ten ganga sanji yo res.
Okay. Just trying to find a pen that works. And one moment here. I don't want to forget. Just give me one moment. I just don't want to forget what Rinpoche said. Rinpoche, Chiran Sanjay Rik Ni Lapsang. Okay. That's good. Okay. So if we were to divide Buddhism into categories, we could divide it into three categories, the teachings that are shared for beings of three capacities. So if we begin, when these three capacities equal the results that the capacities produce. So these capacities, starting with the small, produce higher realm rebirth, the medium, a liberation for an individual, and then the great scope would be in terms of those who want to achieve Buddhahood. So this is how it is described. So for those beings who wish to achieve rebirth in the higher realms of cyclic existence, they practice the teachings shared in common with beings of small capacity. These teachings are the practices of going for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and engaging in ethics which abandons the 10 non-virtuous activities. And by engaging in these practices, which are the teachings shared in common with beings of small capacity, one achieves rebirth in the higher realms of cyclic existence. The next level of teachings are for those beings who wish to achieve their own individual liberation. And these are called the teachings shared in common with beings of medium capacity. And this practitioner engages in the practice of the three highest higher trainings. Highest higher training in ethics, concentration, and wisdom. And in dependence upon these trainings, these pathways, one is able to achieve the state of nirvana or liberation. So this is the pathway. These three highest higher trainings are pathways that lead to liberation. And then finally, the teachings for beings of great capacity are those teachings that lead to Buddhahood. And these practices are the ones already mentioned, combined with the generation of compassion that leads to bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And once the mind that aspires to enlightenment is generated, this practice of the 6 perfections. So in dependence upon these practices, one is able to achieve complete Buddhahood. So it is stated that all sentient beings have the ability to possess all of these practices. All sentient beings have what is called Buddha potential or Buddha nature. So all sentient beings can achieve Buddhahood, can achieve liberation, can achieve these things, the higher realms and so forth mentioned, and specifically can achieve Buddhahood because of the Buddha potential that we all possess. So what is this Buddha potential? And it can be divided into 2 categories. First, it's the potential, which is the mental consciousness itself. So this is the potential that can be cultivated, the cultivating potential, and then the natural potential, or the natural lineage, and that is that the lack of true establishment of the mental consciousness, or the translators note, the emptiness of the mental consciousness makes it so this potential is there. It is neither this nor that. So potential can be whatever one wishes it to be. So that's what the nature is, because the nature is, just as a translator's note, the mind is translated as that which is clear in knowing. So it's not this or that. It's clear, and it can go whichever way it wants to know, if you will. Back to the translation. So all sentient beings possess Buddha potential, Sanjay Rik, and there are these two kinds. The mental consciousness itself, which is the development, the developable, what's a word like? Anyway, you get what I'm trying to, that which can be matured, which is the mental consciousness, and then the lack of true establishment of the mental consciousness. So this is what makes the Buddha potential within all sentient beings, and that's it. Diesel.
La keba wo tela pombo ne zoji pombo so na yin la tela keba ne pombo le ma to be da dan jen ge da dan jen ge wa meba sheba wo kebi mela sobe kan choje yin la kebi meba de wade mela sobe kan choje meba yuji kan chu tenwa bi kan chu tenba na shi kan chu choje chozun choje wade yin bare tena tela keba ne ketanam rang ki saben ju jujin sheba wos I
think so. Then Chukaba Kason, Shebao.
Yeah.
Then Dendrel Sarpa. Okay. All right, so we begin on page 36, C, Objects of Meditation for Expertise. Rinpoche, the kepi mipa, kepa, becha kepa, the tsik chipa? Okay, so when we look at this word that it says objects of meditation for expertise, the word that they're translating as expertise is the same word that we use for scholar. You could translate this also objects of meditation for scholars, or scholarly objects of meditation, because when we say one is a scriptural scholar, we would say becha kepa, and here this word kepa is the same word that would be used for a scholar. So we could also call scholars experts, and so that's why they've chosen to use the word expert. An expert in the field of Tibetan Buddhism would be a becha kepa. In the scriptural field of Tibetan Buddhism would be that. Anyway, just an aside that I noticed in the translation from Tibetan to English. Objects of meditation for expertise. There are also 5 objects of meditation for expertise, namely expertise in the aggregates, the constituents, the sources, dependent arising, and what is and not possible. The aggregates are the 5 aggregates of form, and the others, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness. And a lot of times when you see parentheses, it's not in the Tibetan, it's been added by the translation team. So realize that when you see parentheses, it's not always just using it for grammar or syntax, it's because it's added. So anyway, expertise in these is knowing that apart from these aggregates, the self and what pertains to the self do not exist. The constituents are the I and the others of the 18 constituents. So looking at the 18 constituents, again, footnote 60, we have everything broken down. We have all of the 5 aggregates, and then it gets into the 18 constituents are the 6 sensory faculties, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mental sensory faculty, the 6 consciousnesses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mental consciousness, and the objects of these consciousness, forms, sounds, odors, tastes, tangible objects, and phenomena. This makes for the 18 constituents, Kam, Ju, Jait. So these are the 18 constituents, again listed footnote 6396 in the English. The constituents are the I and the others of the 18 constituents. Expertise in them is knowing the causal conditions by which these constituents arise from their own seeds. The sources are the I and the others of the 12 sources. Expertise in knowing these is knowing the 6 internal sources are dominant conditions for the 6 consciousnesses, that the 6 external sources are the object conditions, and that the mind which has just ceased is the immediately preceding condition. I just want to see how far we're in. Preceding condition. Okay. And just as a translator's note, you'll find all of these terms and what all of this refers to in the mind and awareness or any of the low-rig teachings. So if these words look complicated and don't seem to make sense, they would only make sense in the Tibetan if you knew how they were defined as well. So you really need to go to, these are really specific terms that are being used here that you would only under the immediately preceding condition, and all of these terms are specific terms that are used within the low-rig teachings, just as a translator's note. So dependent arising is the 12 factors. Expertise in them is knowing that they are impermanent, suffering, and devoid of self. What is and what is not possible refers to such things as it being possible for a pleasant fruition to arise from a virtuous action, but not possible for a pleasant fruition to arise from a non-virtuous action. This is something that's studied in the first text, actually, in the monastery, that which is possible and that which is not possible. So you're starting to see, just as a note, how all of the Geshe curriculum builds on it. All of the texts build on each other and then make it possible to understand the Lamrim. So the study of the 5 texts make it so you can understand the Lamrim, and the Lamrim make it so you can understand the 5 texts. So you're starting to really see that, having studied some of them, just a little taste myself, how important the study of mind and low rig and dirig is to understanding this really clearly. Ngay this segudu ne kejor lapja nga de putisho nga de kanga de nangla yure yene lorig darig mashena de sheda shingamare gangen sena de lorig sik mambo yure de lorig dang darig dang semanandra sik mambo yure de putisho nga dang delpa lobjong mashena de detsi shin tudu yene de nimpo shin tu mare then nge de lason. Okay. Diksun. Shebao.
Shebao so de jeta ne
kaba
jeshi juni jeshi du sho so na shi jeshi tu na ge jeshi tu juni ne zuji jeshi la so tu shi jeshi ne me go abla so ba ne trude ode nagi jeje ode jeje juni jeje ne mela so jeje juni yela tela keba ne nagi jeje trune na shi truki dabi jen da shi Geshe Lharampa me chen da gema tabi yine tama tabi chen do sheba shao me chen da tama ta chen so da re do ta tende ne yala juni yala toma mari ba nye ban de ji ji so ba na ji tende yala juni o del ja ures juni yala de la ke ba ne da la mata ba na do ge wa da me ba sheba wos ne da ne ma yin ba ne gwale na mi yi do wa yo ne yin las gwale de wa yo da ne res me gwale na mi yon yo ne ma yin ba yin la de la ke ba ne de ta sheba wos de ne tende la kebe shida yinde cheba nende mandayu yuna sheba shedo dada shineji meba shebe tse ne pombo la soba dada kanto kebe zinda chike kune sen zinba wo nyomo ba nabara yunwa nyomo nabara yunwa meba yunwa ne nyomo ji sabun nyam me ba sheba sanji santang sabun zine pongwa te tambi me ba ne debi sa ne jian me bi chi ji ba ji sa wu mi rabat ko mi shiwa yin la so to ba ka le ju na
Let's go. Just give me one moment here. Okay, so the sources are the I and the other 12 sources, expertise in knowing these, that the 6 internal sources are the dominant condition for the 6 consciousnesses, that the 6 external sources are the object conditions, and that the mind that has just ceased is the immediately preceding condition. So we look at, again, that footnote points out, just to clarify what the 12 sources are, it says they're the same as the 6 sensory faculties and their sources. So the sense powers, the 6 powers or faculties, and their sources. So that's what. So it's the internal and external. So the internal would be the sense powers, what powers the apprehension of. Then the sources, in this case, those are the objects of the form, sounds, odors, tastes, tangible objects, and phenomena. So we're speaking of internal, nang, and external, shi. So the Rinpoche pointed that out, the internal and external phenomena that's pointed out here. And just the understanding of these things. Dependent arising is the 12 factors. So here, speaking of the 12 links of dependent arising, understanding the links: ignorance, action, consciousness, name and form, 6 sources: contact, feeling, attachment, grasping, existent, birth, aging, and death. They're the 12 links of dependent origination. So Rinpoche listed those as well. Expertise in them is knowing that they are impermanent, suffering, and devoid of self. What is and is not possible refers to such things as being possible for a pleasant fruition to arise from a virtuous action, but not possible for a pleasant fruition to arise from a non-virtuous action. Expertise in this is knowing that things are this way. This is a particular case of expertise and dependent arising. The difference is that you understand diverse causes. When you use these as objects of meditation for cultivating serenity, you keep your attention on just one of the perspective in which the aggregates, etc., may be known. So single-pointed concentration is being pointed out. Okay, I need to figure out where Rinpoche just ended at. 494, let's go, 493. Rinpoche, chu kabar kason. Let's see, Tama?
Niba ne, Demba ji. Niba ne, Demba ji, Metabala Judru goes.
Demba ji, Metapa Judru. Okay, let's go. This Chuzugo, Yandrasu. Okay, ni, okay. Let's go. Nipi mipa?
Nipi mipa ne, Demba ji, Metabala Judru goes.
Okay, we're in the same place. Ngatsu chipa. Okay. Yabudu. Okay.
Demba ji, Dungan, Demba Goden, Lande, Jetle Demba ji, Samarba. Demba ji to call Kui Jundani, call Tree Jundani, Jit Demba ji. Call Tree, call Kui Jo, Konyu Demba, Devu Dungan Demba, call Tree Jo, Lande, Devu Goden. Tende, ya. What the Demba ji, Jitele, Naba ji, and Dejimata Suru. Dungan Demiti to Mata Dungan, one Dameba. Je. Kunyu get to Joe, Kunyu Roji, Je.
That's so.
Then the Lariba Druba and Je, Lande Je, Gubashawaja Nungan and then Goden Nabajit. Riba what things are it?
Less so. Okay, so when we look at hold on. The different the Four Noble Truths. Now we're going to get into explanations that we're going to go over things like the Four Noble Truths and the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths. So what this is referring to is when we look at the Four Noble Truths, they're presented in this way. This is the superior truth of suffering, this is the superior truth of origin, this is the superior truth of cessation, and this is the superior truth of path. And we find within those four statements, there are two cause and effect relationships that occur. The first two noble truths show how one is bound to cyclic existence, and the second two noble truths show how one is freed from cyclic existence. So we see the first two noble truths, this truth of suffering and the truth of origin. Origin is the cause, and the effect is the truth of suffering. So this is the first cause and effect relationship that shows how one is bound to or kept in cyclic existence. So this is the first cause and effect relationship. Origin being the cause and suffering being the effect. The next cause and effect relationship we see is between cessation and path. And here, this shows how one is freed from cyclic existence. So the cause here being the path, and the result being the cessation of suffering, the cessation of cyclic existence. So through dependence upon the cause of the path, one is able to achieve the cessation of suffering. So this is the second cause and effect relationship that we see, which is how one is unbound from cyclic existence, literally bound and unbound. So that is how we look at the Four Noble Truths in terms of the cause and effect relationship. Then if we look at it in a grander terms, if we look at it the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths, each of the Four Noble Truths has four attributes or four natures, if you will. So the first noble truth, the truth of suffering, is impermanent suffering, selfless, and empty. So those are the four attributes of the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. The second noble truth, the truth of origin, has four attributes as well: cause, origin, strong production, and condition. So these are the the four attributes of the four attributes of the truth of origin. So true sufferings, mitapa, dunyawa, damepa, and tonwa. And then true origins, you have Ju, Gonjung, Rapje, and Jen. So those are the four, if you're following in Tibetan. I think it's easier to have the Tibetan words like we used Sanskrit before when we originally started. True cessations have four attributes: cessation, Gupa; pacification, Shiva; auspicious highness, Janom; and definite emergence, Ngejong. So these are the four attributes of true cessations. And true paths have four attributes: path, Lam; suitability, Ripa; achievement, Drupa; and deliverance, Ngejin. So these are the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths that when we look at a more expansive look at the Four Noble Truths, we can look in this way. Okay, Dix. Rinpoche, the Gonjung Pongwa Sha, the Chan, this Som Lapson. The Dembaje, this Som Lapson. So then the Buddha also taught Chan, the Lapson. Okay, so there's another way that we can look. I wasn't sure if Rinpoche had said this, but I wanted to make sure I didn't forget it. Is the three different ways of look that the Buddha stated the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha first stated that this is the superior truth of suffering, this is the superior truth of origin, this is the superior truth of cessation, and this is the superior truth of path. Then the Buddha stated that suffering is to be understood, origin is to be abandoned, cessation is to be achieved, and path is to be relied upon or meditated upon. Then the Buddha stated on the third round that there is no suffering to understand, there is no origin to abandon, there is no cessation to achieve, and there is no path to meditate or rely upon. So the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths in these three different ways as well. But so we have the Four Noble Truths in terms of the two cause and effect relationships, how one is bound and unbound. Then we have the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths, which are four attributes of each of the Four Noble Truths. And then we also have it in terms of the three presentations of the Four Noble Truths. Digsom, Kanga Lapsom.
long droba ma to rebi droba de samare tene chamanane de ma jela samba de nga shesu je ane lori ni je go na dro ngore de jima ta ju de ane lo la de dro ngore lo ma je ta da ju dro ngore de nga shesu je o de le de zare.
The Yanjar Suralang, in Dharmakirti's Pramanavartika Karika, it seemed like there was a re-emergence of this Yanjar Suralang. Rik, Ripa. Okay. Pali, the Sanjake Dang Pali?
Yeah.
Okay, the Jong. Then Pali Jong Gare? The Rik Yomare, Long Kona?
Long Riba,
Longkona. Ale, Longkona. So there was only a scriptural kind of recitation of this understanding these attributes and of the Four Noble Truths previously that was carried on through the Pali tradition. So there wasn't an understanding of it. There wasn't a use of correct signs and reasoning and debate. This really reemerged in Dharmakirti's Pramanavartika Karika, where he began to look at this more in depth. So there was really, it was really only passed down and still remains in the Pali tradition, where we see in Thailand and so forth, where there's just the emphasis on the scriptural recitation and not as much of the delving into the meaning of the scripture itself. So the tradition of analysis didn't carry on as much, and it was really reignited through Dharmakirti in the Indian tradition. Okay. Selbachasam.
That Dungaki Ju Dibaji and the Wagi to Gawa. And the Wal Saman Deba Yuare and the Wagi Ju to Karazana, and then I saw Jun all over the Gawala then the Wayunguares. Dunga Dibala then the Dungayunguares. And then I saw the Shigor or what to London Rebani Dugoro. Debajilla Dembada, the Dangai Shisu, Shisu Chiwate, Lorini Jugune, Dejamatasu Dugoroa. That the terrible Jena Karlagres, terrible Jesuna, the Gagi Jukare, the Wagi Jukan is, Chibayina, terrible Karjagar.
So we state that in a basic fashion that suffering has a cause. And the cause of suffering is misdeed. And happiness has a cause, and the cause of happiness is virtue. So we can look at it in these terms. So in dependence upon misdeeds, I suffer. In dependence upon virtue, I have happiness. And then we could also look at it in terms of the more vast perspective of the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths and their understandings that are more complex. There's one line that I'm missing in here that I just don't want to dwell on it because it's vocabulary. I would need a dictionary, and it's just going to take too long. But the main point of it is that you can really look at it easily, but then you can also look at it in more complex terms. Let's go. What did I forget? I forgot something. So, science. This is what Buddhism states. Buddhism states that suffering comes from misdeeds, happiness comes from virtue. What would a scientist say? So scientist, if you're listening, we would like to know, where does happiness come from? Where does suffering come from? What are its causes? We say that happiness is caused by virtue, suffering is caused by non-virtue. Okay. Ngayon ripa triwa jaso.
Yeah.
Chishena de sansan sen ripa mambo yongre gangin sen ngatsu de triwa mambo jaso.
Yeah.
Sen ripa.
Sen ripa kashi nga pei dun len yongu.
Kai.
Sen ripa so pei dun chen nga len yongu.
Oh, Rinpoche has some science in Tibetan that he's been able to look at, some science recently.
Tandane ta gore baba le meba son des gore baba le tingen ji meba son yores son gares na son la chuni bo taje de jini la joa tan boba tan oba oshi taje dude senju badans tende la chuni de and chuni bu taje de jini la joa dans boba tan oba oshi taje dude tela senju badans senju badan chesanji chuna dubaju pombula soba meba dan tonga dan tubi sanjiji kurula senju bawo Pombola Sobin Josune, Duji Taji, Pomongandu, Duji Gama Duna Pomongandu, Zoji Pombo, Tui Pombo, Duji Pom, Nabashi Pomonganola, Duji Gangatan Dunu, Dulu Ganderes and Dulu Shepherd Hela, Tene, Tadaki Nanto Rinchi, Du Simba Tan, Tela, Men Senzimba Te, Chetera Susu La Kona, Susu Tubi, Shera Chawatar, Tuba La Zuba, Shena, Ujela Mondoa, Mebala Saint Dubi, Tengan the Joe. Then the Chunga Bi, Mengago, the Jinto, Chutaji Kanda, Chisito, the Su Shebashela, the Du Simbadan, Sanzimba was, what the things it or damaging Sanzim Gures, Tela, Cheba Najan, Meba, Nane, Cheba Terror, Chazu, Haber Cheba, Naji, Chazu, Dulhashin Tela, Dene, Tingan Tuba Layu, Meba Naba Cheba Jinila. What the college, you know?
Chipa Chen Yin La. Okay. I'll try and stop my starting and stopping points. I'll try to get as best I can. But we're stopping in the middle of sentences and stuff, so just bear with me. Objects of meditation for purifying afflictions. Purifying afflictions means either merely reducing the strength of the seeds of the afflictions, or else utterly eradicating the seeds. In the former case, the objects of meditation are the comparative coarseness of each lower stage and comparative calmness of each higher stage, proceeding from the level of the desire realm up to the level of nothingness. In the latter case, the objects of meditation are impermanence and the other 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths. When you use these as objects of meditation for cultivating serenity, you do not analyze, but instead keep your attention on any one cognition of an aspect of these objects that appears to it. Kamala Shila's second stages. So here, this is the reference then, that what was majorly passed down was this keeping attention on a cognition of an aspect of these objects as opposed to the analysis. And it was the Pramanavartika Karika where we see the analysis bring up more. Kamala Shila's second stages of meditation states that objects of meditation are three. After you have brought together everything that all 12 branches of Scripture say about determining, settling into, and having settled into reality, you stabilize your mind upon it. You observe the aggregates, etc., which include phenomena to some extent. So the aggregates here form, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness. So Rinpoche listed them. So the five aggregates. You stabilize your mind on the physical form of the Buddha, which you have seen and heard about. How do you stabilize your mind on such things as the aggregates? When you understand how all compositional things can be included within the five aggregates, you mentally collect them gradually into these five aggregates. Then you observe them and keep your attention on them, just as discerning wisdom develops when you cultivate differentiation. So when you cultivate collectedness, you develop concentration wherein your attention is brought together on the object of meditation without moving toward other objects. This is a personal instruction of the knowledge tradition. Likewise, when you understand how all phenomena can be included within the constituents and sources, you mentally collect them into these categories and keep your attention on these. So the knowledge tradition, the Dharmakirti tradition. And as the translators note, so people are aware, this is near the end of the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, which is assuming that this book is taught in terms of realization. So you realize the first, it's not in books in Tibetan, but you realize all of the topics up to here before you get to here. So if this sounds really complex, it's because it is really complex, and it's for extremely advanced practitioners to utilize. We can dabble in it, but to really understand this, it's extremely in-depth and difficult. So if you're sitting there with a million questions, anyone would be, because it's very complex material. This is within the scope of the most complex material taught in Buddhism, period. So other stuff is more information. This is very, very complex information that requires analysis. So that's why you keep hearing Rinpoche's emphasis on analysis, not just recitation, not just because there's no way to understand it without that. Among these 4 types of objects of meditation for purifying behavior, as explained, facilitate the stopping of attachment and such in those whose behavior is dominated by attachment and such. They are special objects of meditation because you may readily attain concentration based upon them. Objects of meditation for expertise are conducive to the development of the insight that knows emptiness inasmuch as they refute a personal self that is not included among those phenomena. So it's coupled with this understanding of emptiness, with all of these are simultaneously coupled with that. Ngay tsampa nga ka dan Chenrezig. Kepi mipa.
Dan deja konro tamo sondo maran deja sheshe wa ina madu bagons.
Okay.
Konro sheshe ba ina shamba gons.
Less so.
Then tamo sheshe ba ina tende yimi jusen de mama ruba.
Less so.
Goge ina ana wade tege medun shoto no no res. Taba dwe ma yima sheso na dwe juro no no was otenda buson de.
So the reason for this emphasis is when we look at antidotes, specific antidotes. So we have the 3 poisons, the poisons of attachment, hatred, and ignorance. So we have these 3 negativities or misdeeds, these 3 types of negativities, and each of them have specific antidotes. So if we look at the first, attachment, the antidote to attachment is meditation upon ugliness, and as a translator's note, that means like the coarseness, the real nature of things, the ugliness of things. So meditation on ugliness is said to be the antidote to attachment. The next is hatred. The meditation upon love is the antidote to hatred. And then the final delusion or ignorance is meditation upon dependent origination. And it is said that if one utilizes the antidote for ignorance, it actually resolves all of the other poisons. So it's said that like when one walks into a room and it's dimly lit, he or she may mistake a rope for a snake, and then fear and so forth arises. But once one understands that it's just a rope and it's not a snake, everything that comes from that mistaken analysis of it as a snake goes away. So likewise, when we utilize the antidote of dependent origination, it makes all of the other negativities go away in that same fashion, because it's the root of what is making all of this incorrect apprehension occur in the first place, mistaken apprehension occur in the first place. And less so.
Judan Rebo Jujin la Tende, Tende Dajila Tende is what the Tende Jusen de Mama Rubalas. What the Tende Santa Jiragach Pinsares, Tenzin the Ban Juatona Chutungo, Tenzin the Ban Juatona, Tejishiba Tungos, tantric nesu de ab she suna le junde la su chu she ngures
the long yanja surana
tanjin de ban jung tona chu tongo tanjin de ban jung tona
less Deji Sheba Ton. Okay. So do. Let's see. So there are two types of Lesso. The Dandel Ton, Sanjay Ton. Lesso. Okay, so there's two, when we look at dependent origination, we say that there's two types of dependent origination. Dependent origination of causes and conditions, and dependent origination through establishment. So if we look at dependent origination of causes and conditions, the Juje, Dandel, the Yanja Suralong. Dandel ni, Juje dan da. Yine Chiran the ni. Ju Chen. Less. Less so. Less so. Yine Chiran Dandel Ewa ni. Ju Chen. Okay. Ju Chen. Sure.
Judan Devoto Raw. Jujela Demitendina, Dajila Demitende Micho, Dajila Demitendina, Jujela Demitende Majo, Tabato Jandiro.
Then Dajan Shosena, the Mingita.
Dajila Demitendina, Judo Sigaro, Judo Sigar Dajil Denduro, Dajila Madema Yomaro.
Okay. So we have two types of dependent origination. Dependent origination through causes and conditions. So these are the causes and conditions that come together that then make for an object to occur. So this is dependent origination through causes and condition. And then there's dependent origination through establishment. So we say if it is dependent origination through causes and conditions, it's necessarily dependent origination through establishment. But if it's dependent origination through establishment, it's not necessarily dependent origination through causes and conditions. So there, we say that there's the musum, Rinpoche. Musum? Musum, mushi, gyawadonchi. Musum. Macha Tabachuchen. Nika Yimba Le Lawadu. Then Musum.
Yeah.
So we would say that there's three permutations between those two kinds of dependent origination. So we would say that dependent origination of causes and conditions and dependent origination of establishment, when we compare these two objects in a debate format, we would say that there are three possibilities. We would ask the question first, are they three possibilities, four possibilities, mutually exclusive, or are they synonymous? So we would say that these two kinds of dependent origination are not synonymous, mutually exclusive, or four possibilities. They are three possibilities. Why is that? So when we look at the first comparison, if it is dependent origination of causes and conditions, is it dependent origination of establishment? Yes. So dependent origination of establishment is merely the collections, the coming together that then can be named. So it doesn't mean causes and conditions. It literally can refer to something permanent, north, south, east, west, of something permanent. So it doesn't require causes and conditions. So we would say that if it's dependent origination of causes and conditions, it's necessarily dependent origination of establishment, because we've had this comings together if there's causes and conditions. But if it's dependent origination of establishment, it's not necessarily dependent origination of causes and conditions. Posit that which is, we could say, liberation. Any permanent phenomena, but Rinpoche gave the example of liberation, which I know you're going to think a lot of things now, but the cessation. And then you can find Nika Yimba. Let's do Pama. Okay, so something which is both. So for it to be 3 possibilities or 4 possibilities, there has to be a common locus, always. Or synonymous, obviously. But for it to be 3 or 4, there's got to be a common locus. So what is the common locus between dependent origination, causing and conditions, and dependent origination of establishment? It would be the relationship that parents have with a child being born. That process of the parent's relationship with a child. It's collections coming together, and it's also causes and conditions, the parent and that needed to happen in order for the child to be born. And something which is neither Nika Mayimba? Ribongra? So you say something that's non-existent, like a rabbit with horns would be something which is neither. So these are the 2 types of dependent origination, and it was stated that when one sees dependent origination, they see the Dharma, and when one sees dependent origination, when he or she sees this, they see the one thus gone, the Buddha. So if you see dependent origination, you see the Dharma. If you see this, you see the Buddha. If you see this, so it means that this is the pith. This is the essence of what has been presented. The lung, the conjure, gari sumpure, Dejin Shepa. Okay, so it was from the Do, so from a sutra teaching. Where we find that you see dependent origination, you see phenomena, or you see the Dharma. Chu can be translated as phenomena or Dharma, which is very confusing, I know. So if you see dependent origination, you see the Dharma, and you see the Dejin Shepa, the one thus gone, which means the Buddha. Okay. The trua dan len, the gari sumpure. Jan san lo gari be. Okay. So I asked Rinpoche what he would wish to do next, and we're going to go to question and answer. So just for ease of next time, we'll start at among the 4 types. 38, 494. So now we're going to do questions. Folks have questions. Just about some of this more complex stuff in here, if we could just... I don't have some of the vocabulary, so it'd just be more frustrating than helpful. But I'll do the best I can. But again, some of this is really above my head.
Hi. I have a number of questions, but I'm going to stick to for right now. You spoke about the causes of suffering and the causes of happiness. Mm-hmm. Okay. So is there a possibility that someone who doesn't have awareness of or higher awareness, that their happiness, which is caused by creating suffering on others, is the cause of their happiness, so they continue it? So, and in our current day society, I see that. I've seen that in a number of situations. Mm-hmm. How can one address that with those who are causing, number 1, the suffering of others, and number 2, those who are subject to that suffering, and help them not or escape from it?
Rimche, leje that's shironan kongshime shingmare kongi chiwa de gar shene me ducha kashe ngu mambo yure nima dakpar the le ducha migewa le sagdu nima dakpar yene konso ngu mambo du kamba chembo du mota ninjepo du then gar shene then kandre the judre garre. Less. That's more. That's more. Okay, so when we see people who are having, for instance, results, I frame the question like this. I said, you see, and I think it's important that I explain how I frame the question. In our society, you see at times people who are engaged in lots of non-virtue. They do terrible things, but they still have a very nice house. They still have a lot of money. They have all of the things that look like what would be happiness to us. How is that possible? And I asked him to explain a little bit about that in general. So what Rinpoche said is that when we experience happiness, it's a result of previous karma that we engaged in. It's not a result of something that immediately is going on. It could be a result of something in previous lives that now is coming into fruition, and then is becoming a source of happiness. But the happiness that they are experiencing is not related in any way to their current behavior. And the current behavior that they're engaging in will then cause a future suffering, maybe in a future lifetime. So the behavior that they're currently engaging in and the results that they are having are not connected in any way whatsoever. So Rinpoche said when we look at Nagarjuna's the precious garland, you see where Nagarjuna states the connections, the very specific connections that lead to very specific results. So in Nagarjuna it says, from giving arises wealth. So from previous lifetimes, could be 1,000,000 lifetimes ago, you were generous. That causes a wealth in a lifetime of some sort. It's not connected to yesterday. It could be from many lifetimes ago. From ethics comes happiness. So from previous ethical behavior comes happiness. From patience, a good appearance or beauty. From effort, virtue, brilliance. A lot of times I've heard that described as charisma. Like through having a lot of effort, this leads to charisma. When it's explained, it's like has like a way to sway people, a way that people are drawn to. So I think charisma is a good word. From concentration, peace of mind, and from wisdom, liberation altogether. So the current behavior isn't linked to the current environment. Okay, so that I know that's half of the question. So then the me ducha nga mota yapo yure nge kamba yapo yure lapcha gare gangin sena konso anje gugumare sansa. Then ngatsu trobo anje maguna then lapcha. The nge trobo chik shena me ducha nge trobo. Then kon migewa mambo sagudu. Then yene kon mota sheda yapo yure kon ngu mambo yure. Then nge kon kamba la drodu nga mota ducha yure nge kamba ducha yure. Then nge trobo la gen the chiran the leka yapio mare gangin sena the chiran migewa le sagudu. Then kon lenja nga the kamba yabudu chiran kamba ducha. Then the nga garela nge trobo garela. So the only thing that you could say to a person like this is that these things are only a result of you being good previously. The things that you have are only because you were previously good, and the things that you want are the things that you have, and the behaviors that you're engaging in will only lead to things that are suffering, and that will not lead to the things that you have now. So that's the only advice you could give to someone. I said, what if you go, I said, if I go to a friend's house who's engaged in non-virtue, they have a big house and a nice car, and I pull up in a broken car and I have a rental house, how are they going to listen to me? And he said, the only thing you could use is reason and logic with someone.
I appreciate all of that, and I I believe all of that. My question is more geared towards like a extensive generational, like slavery, where the slave owning families, the white supremacists that we face every day today, feel that their practices give them a happiness and joy that we all know as enlightened people are false. So in what they practice causes an extreme suffering to entire populations of other people. How do we address that as an individual, as a group? How can we address that level of suffering and that level of causes of suffering to others?
Okay, that's a totally different question, but first of all, I want to say that I think generally people are good, and I think that the majority of people aren't white supremacists that are terrible people walking around and they want others to be harmed. I think the majority of people that you deal with in everyday life are not card-carrying members of the Ku Klux Klan or white supremacists. So I think that's an extreme group, and I've been in the depths of the alleys of society, and I've been in the richest, highest levels of society. I've been in hardcore bands that traveled with, you know, folks that were into that sort of thing, and they were a very, very small group of people. So, so anyway, so when you have that very small group of people, how would you address that? How would you address them to let them know they're harming other people, which is their goal? So, but their Buddhist teaching would tell us that they're going about happiness ignorantly, the way we do too. We just don't do it in such an extreme way, but we're here in cyclic existence, so we've obviously done things like that and thought of things like that. So it's just to understand that their way of going about being happy is just misguided. So Rinpoche, nga tsu zambaling me ducha mambo du, de me nyun, de zopa yure, de zopa me napo gapo mare, me de pupa gapo mare, me garpo kuna, de mik ngompo me garpo. Kona yapudu, Hitler dang drapudu. Then de zopa, kashe de yure. Dene de zopa ngatsu gare lakudu. Gangisana de zopa de me kashe nugudu. De kasang, de bamja, de me, de menda chembo. The Jewish gompa lesson. Me, how many people did they kill in the synagogue? Me juchi seisung. Yesterday? Kasang. Kasang menda kerson. Jewish the dandraudu. Then me ducha lepson. Me juchi seison. Menda chembo kerson. Then kon Jewish people gapomare. Kon sampa the dendru dandrapudu. Jewish people dendru dandradu. De zopa de sanlo dangdu. Dene zopa den dandar zopa lapcha gare sabudu. That's so. A lot of times all we can do is pray. Less so. Less so. So we have to look at it in terms of giving advice. You see how parents would give advice to a child. But what Rinpoche said is that a lot of times all you can do is pray and make aspirational prayers for people like this. Because there's nothing that you can really do that's going to be positive. But you have to just try to, from your own side, look at be kind of an example to the world, and make sure that your own negativities or you're working on those. But that's really difficult thing to know how to. Do you confront? Do you protest? Do you stay silent? Does protesting it make it bigger? You know, Does it give it a name and make it on the news if you go protest it? You know, if you leave it in the dark corner, does it stay there? Do we want it in the corner? A lot of really good questions, and I don't think Buddhism has a lock on an answer. So Rinpoche said, pray. The Tonglen, Pentogdu. Then the Tonglen Kandre Gom Rinpoche. Then the Jewish Gompa made Juchi Seison. Then Tonglen Kandre. Leso. Then Ngatsu. Then the Kasang, the Mei Ducha, the Mendu Kersan. Then Ngatsu Kon la Tonlen Dan Tudue. Then Garshine. That's more, Rimchit. Guy, the Menda, the Yi Yomare. It's trying to make a joke, and Rinpoche doesn't want to say the joke, so we're in breaks mode. I think the joke is that the gun doesn't have a mind. It's I don't know, something like this. But anyway, the Tonglen. I just had to regather my thoughts. So that when we look at tragedies such as what happened at the synagogue, and also suffering in any form, and even the last question that I asked, the suffering of the person who carried the gun in, who, you know, imagine that also, what kind of suffering that has to take. And you can do what is called giving and taking meditation, where you imagine all sentient beings or specific sentient beings. And I asked Rinpoche at the tail end of his explanation of the Tonglen giving and taking meditation specifically about the gunman. And he said you could specifically do it for an individual like that person, where you imagine that in the form of a white light, all of happiness and virtue goes from your left nostril as you exhale to all sentient beings or whatever, whomever the objects of your meditation are, and you imagine that that white light transforms them into happy beings that are full of virtue, because that's the only way they could be happy, is if they have full of virtue, because suffering is caused by non-virtue. So you imagine they only have virtues, they only have happiness, and you imagine that in the form of a black light, you suck in through your right nostril all of the non-virtues and negativities that they're experiencing. And this is a meditation upon love and compassion. So when you're taking on all of the negativities, and I'll expand because this is Rinpoche's teaching that he gave before on Tonglen, that you imagine that as this black light enters, it goes down into your mind and destroys your self-cherishing attitude. You imagine that this black light just absolutely burns away. You can imagine it in different ways. You can look in text for the visualizations, but you imagine that this black light destroys your self-cherishing attitude, and this is a meditation upon compassion. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And then when we exhale, we imagine that these virtues and happinesses are going. This is a meditation upon love. May all sentient beings have I'm sorry, let me try that again. The meditation upon love is may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And the meditation upon compassion is may all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So you're taking away the suffering as you inhale, and as you exhale, you're giving the happiness and virtue. So compassion and love meditation. So yes. Shamba Dang Ninji. Gom. Any more? Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah,
about,
and then
the realms, because
yes.
I know you said the small, medium, and great capacities, and then you can reincarnate into a higher realm. So if someone reincarnates into that higher realm, is it still in the same world? Are they still aware of those lower realms, and can they then assist those who are in the lower realms?
I can just answer it straight. No.
Okay.
I mean, if they're very highly realized, yes, but we're in a higher realm right now. Can we?
No.
There you are.
Oh, you are still aware. Okay.
Yeah, we're in a higher realm right now. But if you achieve clairvoyance, you then, in levels, you could go to other realms, but it takes an enormous amount of realization and so forth. So generally speaking, no, but special exceptions, yes.
Rinpoche, my question is about understanding the relationship. Understanding the relationship between the mind and the physical world. So, if you look at the possibility of having these super knowledges or super abilities, for example, like walking on water, or like swimming through earth. These kinds of phenomena seem to point to the possibility that mind has at least a kind of supremacy over matter, or that matter is itself mind in some way. But there has to be a relationship between them. So I'm curious to know how it's possible that these super abilities take place if mind is not fundamental, and how he would,
Rinpoche, the ngapa, the ngalam, shir chembo, lena, then sa dro tudu, chu dro tudu, nanka, shadro ja tudu, the nga becha de yure, padma lopuninye, padma sambhava, lopuninye yomare, padma sambhava, the loju, the mambo yure, con lanka, the shadroja, dan saladro, dene, con dit seudu, ngatu sem, dan zu, gewa. Dene kandre, ngatsu gonja, sa drok tudu. Kandre, gangin sena ngatsu gonja, ngatsu sem, ngatsu sheba. Yine, depo, ngatsu sa dro tudu. Yine sa, the dro chogomare. Na, dro tugmare. Then gar shene, the ngapa, dro tudu.
어떤 그런 하게 통마에 내버렸어 내봐. 내발에 된다는 요아요. 하 루지야지는 하 두번이야. 들으자는 두번이야 봐. 하 루지야지는 두번이야. 두번이 그런 생 거르는 거 제도고. 들으샤라서 대제 제도 말해.
Ngatsu hako mar. Yeah.
두번이 그 두번이 페디스 뭐 제게 주고.
Lessa.
제게 지는 그 하루
Lessa. Yene kongi chiwa sen danzu gewa. Gar shene ngatsu sem mambo lobjung she gomja dene ngatsu sa drotugudu. Sa jegamare sem jason. Yene gar shene sa drotugudu. Kandre. Sem Jason, sa J Mason, sa Chipa. Sa Chipa. Ngatsu lanka kamba jatudu. Yene, the ngapa, sem Jason, sa J Mason. Then garshene napa drotudu. Sem nupa? Sem nupa? Then drawa yirbe, drawa yomare? Kon sampa gelwa yomare gangin sena. The sa jegudu. Sem jena sa je. Gelwa yomare kongichiwa. Kontetsum shason. It's a good question, by the way. The ngapa You do understand. It's just a hard question. Everyone's just taking a pass right now. Ngapa, Padmasambhava, Gom Mambo Japson. Dene, Den Sunsa, Gonja Depo, Kon Nanka Drotudu. Sa Drotudu. Yene, Nima Ngama, Sa Drotumason. Dene Kon Gonja, Dene Sa Drotudu. Sa Chipa, Sa Jemason. Kon Sem Jason. Sem Jason. Sa Chipa. Then Gar Sem Dansa Drewa Mena Gelwa Padmasambhava Sa Drotugumare. Gangin Sena Sa Chipa. Sem Jason Sa Jemason. I'm saying if Padmasambhava, the day before he had the realization that allowed him to go burrow under the ground, that ground was hard. The ground didn't change, Padmasambhava's mind changed. So the realization then makes some connection between the ground and the mind, able to make the ground change or the mind's reaction to the ground different. So that's what I'm asking right now. And that's the question, right?
Exactly.
So what Rinpoche said is that, and they both said, before then said the question wasn't good, is that these are realizations that we can't understand.
Okay.
That you have to have this realization in order to understand how the mind's ability is fully manifested and then can allow one to move the mind underground. You know.
Okay.
So
thank you.
They're saying that it's a very it's not something that just happens. First, that's what Geshe was saying. He was saying meditation, 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 all the building blocks that are necessary to get there. It makes like magic. Is basically is what they're saying is that magic occurs that makes the mind have this ability that's a tantric ability, that's a special, that's like magic, tantra, like a special ability that we really can't describe or explain or understand, but it does occur, and mind and form are mutually exclusive somehow. They don't have a common locus. So somehow, then the semje, saje, semje son. So the nature of the mind, which is what is you're experiencing, like the nature of the mind changes, so that makes it so that you're not the same.
Yeah.
So you aren't you're no longer Dan that can't go through. You're now Dan that can go through. Okay, that's making a little more sense. So the nature of your mind changes, so your experience changes. So the projection changes. You know how a hungry ghost can see a pus, and a human sees water, and a god sees nectar? It's got to be something about like that. And it's probably above my pay grade for sure. But it's a really good question. Okay. It's a stumper. It's not something that's simple.
Okay. Could I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Okay. So my other question is basically when you talk about having memories or having memory and also having consistent conditions in the mind, like for example, like my general personality hasn't changed since I was young. I'm very similar to what I was, and I won't change to become like this erratic, selfish person like tomorrow.
You could though.
Yeah, I guess I could.
Well, just quickly, I do have to wrap this up though. So specific question. But there would have to
be a cause for it, right? So generally the causes for something like that don't occur. But so what I wanted to say is that how do you describe the mental continuities, like memory and like our personality and like our core beliefs and values, and how do you relate to those in the context of momentary impermanence? Because I can understand momentary impermanence in terms of objects around me, because I can think of them as being like kind of like on a quantum level constantly changing, or on an atomic level constantly changing. So that makes sense to me. But on a level of mind, I still don't have a way of describing what it means for my memories or my my personality or my core beliefs to have momentary impermanence.
Memories, if you're using them loosely, you can use the word memory from last lives, and that would explain it. It's a continuity of some sort of connected karma from your previous life that runs until you die. It's like the arrow that shoots up. When you die, it no longer has the potential to rise. You have some sort of karmas from previous lives that are making you the way that you are. And when those karmas are no longer there, you die, and then you are something else. There's that continuity. But the reason I was challenging that is I myself have known few people that have gone off the deep end suddenly that were completely normal. And I'm just one person. How many people in this room have seen that or heard that? So there isn't always continuity, and it isn't always from a major thing occurring. Sometimes it just happens.
So maybe the best example would be karma. It's like what you were saying, because you can say that karmas, for example, might have been there from like many, many, many lifetimes ago. So they're just they're staying there. There's a sense of continuity. There's a sense of continuing the same way over time.
But it's the concordance of karma. That's the whole teaching of how we experience things, is that a karma arises, and then we're experiencing, we're behaving, we're reacting and acting, and then when that no longer has power, we either die or act differently.
Okay, but so then my question would be, what causes its continuity? What causes it to be stay there, as opposed to having things? If things are in their nature are impermanent and like constantly changing and flowing, how is it possible at all to have something that's kind of sticking around?
It is like changing. Karma? You're getting older. You're not staying exactly the same. You are aging, and then it's over. So it's impermanent as anything. I don't understand. I'm trying to frame a question.
Karma. So the karma that I have,
it doesn't have continuity. You're looking at it in terms of a blip on a radar, as if it's really important, this one life that we have. But we're having millions of these lives. Millions of this happening. This is a second if we look at our lifetime. So it's so momentary, but it's dragged out in terms of our experience, but it's so momentary. And that continuity is a blip on the radar. It's a karma we created that, okay, we were generous in a previous life, so we have these things, but we have like a disposition that makes us want to be giving, and then we did this and that and the other thing that makes these other dispositions. And when that karma no longer is there for us to experience that, then another karma comes up depending on what conditions are there to make it come up. And then we experience new stuff. So there really is no continuity other than the karma arising and then extinguishing, arising and then extinguishing. And some of it takes longer in terms of our thought. We feel like it's a long time, but if we looked at beginningless time, we would feel like this is just like a moment on a stopwatch. Rinpoche, the kongichua, the ngatsu, the jewa, the me kashi zun she mambo, zun mambo. Me kashi zun mare. Then konsu the tse kanga zun mare. Tse kanga the suchu mare. The me kashi dendru se sheragagudu. Me kashi dendru se the ngugudu. Then the tse kanga dan drapodu. Then kongi tsampa, the chikshena mitapa yomare, gangin sena, ngatsut se kanga, zun she yomare. Then nge lap lenjason. Se de nyun. Se ngama 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 ngama. Ngatsu le sarna, then le sarpa yongore. Ngatsu zun ma shena shepi le tsar. Zun le yongare. Then ngatsu zun mambo dangare. Chikshenwa jewa shema, ngatsu zungare. Jewa de zungumare. Gangin sena de le. The le nupa tsar, yanjer zun. De laso. He said, I told him what I said in response. I told him what you said, and then I told him what I said, and they said, that's sufficient. Move on. So I guess whatever I said is okay. One more question. I have to
I just had a quick follow-up to Dan. Is that similar to like the Buddha's power to emanate as a bridge?
The Kon Sampa Chikshena the Padmasambhava Chiwa Dang Sanjay Trupit Sampa Bridge. This Zuyen Yene Sanjay Trutugdu. Hakosun. Dit Sampa. Dit Sanjay Trupa. Sanjay Trupa Mambo Yure. Dendru Danga the Mambo Trupa Mambo Yure. Ngayomari. Yene the Senchen Mambo Sanjay Trutugdu. Then Sanjay the Sompare. The Senchen Sampa Guna. Sanjay Sampa Trugure. Bridge. Then Sanjay Sem Shebayin. Sampa Zuyin. Yene dit Sampa Nyune Yomare. Trupit Sampa. De Lenja. Gari Lenja. Hakutsu son. Sanjay Trup Sheba. Then Sanjay the Sampa true. This Zu.
Yes.
Then this Sampa de Zuyin Shebayin. Sanjayin Sampayin. De Chiwa.
Zuyi Sandiro.
Zuyin. Then Sanjay Mayimbatel.
Teacher.
The Senchen my the she the Kansa Mayimbichir. The Kansa Yomar. The Lenja Yomar. It's Sampa. Samba. Bridge. The river. Samba. Here, I started a good debate. So the question is the Buddha's emanation of a bridge, or is it Buddha? If it's Buddha, it can't be a bridge because bridge is form. If it's a form, it can't be Buddha. So Rinpoche says it's a bridge, it's form. And then I said, no, it's not, because it's Chi Chir, Sanjay Yimbatel, Jambi Yimbi Chir. Sanjay Dang Zuyin. Zu Dang Kansak, Nika Yimba Yoatel.
Zamba de Zuri, Sonjin, and you did the shitting you go Pungo. Ponji, Nibishera. You did the shitting in the Nibishera. Zamba the Nibishera Meva. Zamba Juda. Sonji and she did the Nibishera.
Shiji dan Neji Pacha Tsar. Sar.
Sonju Tura.
Less.
Zamba the Kego to a Meva. You understand? Sonji Nib to a Meva.
Yeah, he's saying that the bridge couldn't get rid of the two obstructions, the obstructions to omniscience and the afflictive obstructions. Yine, the Sanjay Matruna Sampa Yoatel. Sanjay Sampi Trupa.
Sanjay Sampa Trupa, Sanjay Sampa Matruna.
Sampa Yoatel. He's saying that you don't need you to emanate something. You don't need to be there to emanate something. He's saying a Buddha doesn't have to be there to emanate something. Now, I wish I could raw Tibetan right now. The Sanjay Trupit Sampa Yin. The true Sanjay Yin Gugumare? So an emanation doesn't require the Buddha. Then true Sanjay Yin Gugumare. Sanjay Trupa Kanga, Sanjay Yimbi Machap. So all emanations of the Buddha are not necessarily the Buddha. That's how you go through this. Sanjay Trupa Yena Sanjay Yimbi Machap. Sho Sanje Chupi Sampa Chuchen. Chuchen. Chu Dang Kala the Kanga. Guardian, Ascension Guardian, Guna Sanje Truk. Ale Sanje Kala True Sanje Yomare. Ah. Oh, okay. Lonku Truku Yomare. Okay. So if you kill a cow that is an emanation of a Buddha, have you killed a cow or a Buddha? It's the same. Anyway, this is what goes on all day at Drepung. If you're wondering what happens at Drepung Losling, we're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing Drepung. Anyway, let's end it there. So the answer is there isn't one today for anyone. Tu chena Geshe La. Khensur shera gasun. Okay. All right, let's do some prayers. We can do that. I'm more in that style, not the analysis, more like the prayer guy. I used to like the analysis guy, but now as I get older, I like the prayer guy. I think it makes a lot of sense. Joke. Okay. Fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drakpa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well. With whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the 3 times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokitesvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, the spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional pure. That makes sense because consciousness